578 death cases and 5,130 recoveries. Nigeria's confirmed cases at the moment is 541, with 19 deaths and 166 recoveries. We give you current developments. In the US, President Donald Trump has warned China that it should face consequences if it was knowingly responsible for the coronavirus pandemic, as he ratcheted up criticism of Beijing over its handling of the outbreak. It could have been stopped in China before it started, and it wasn't, and the whole world is suffering because of it, Trump told a daily White House briefing. It was the latest US volley in a war of words between the world's two biggest economies, showing increased strains in relations at a time when experts say an unprecedented level of cooperation is needed to deal with the coronavirus crisis. If it was a mistake is a mistake. But if they were knowingly responsible, then sure, there should be consequences, Trump said. He did not elaborate on what actions the United States might take. Trump and senior aides have accused China of a lack of transparency after the coronavirus broke out late last year in the city of Wuhan. This week, he suspended aid to the World Health Organization, accusing it of being China-centric. Washington and Beijing have repeatedly sparred in public over the virus. Trump initially lavished praise on China and his counterpart, President Xi Jinping, for their response. But he and other senior officials have also referred to it as a Chinese virus, and in recent days have ramped up their rhetoric. They have also angrily rejected earlier attempts by some Chinese officials to blame the US for the origin of the virus. Trump's domestic critics say that while China performed badly at the outset and must still come clean on what happened, he is now seeking to use Beijing to help deflect of the shortcomings of his own response and take advantage of growing anti-China sentiment among some voters for his 2020 re-election bid. Still in the US, demonstrations to demand an end to stay-at-home measures that have pummeled the economy spread to Texas on Saturday, as the governor at the epicenter of the US coronavirus said his state of New York may finally be past the worst. New York, which has recorded nearly half the country's deaths from COVID-19, the respiratory disease caused by the highly infectious virus, on Saturday reported 540 coronavirus-related deaths for April 17, down from 630 a day earlier and the lowest daily tally since April 1st. Some 2,000 people were still being hospitalized with COVID-19 every day, Governor Andrew Cuomo said, and he noted 36 of the latest New York deaths occurred at nursing homes, which have been ravaged by the pandemic nationwide. In neighboring New Jersey, both the number of new hospitalizations and new coronavirus cases were also slightly down from the day before, Governor Phil Murphy said, but he added, "We are not out of the woods. We have not yet plateaued." Illinois reported 125 new coronavirus deaths and an additional 1,585 cases, but said the growth rate was slowing. Murphy said he had a concerning call with Senate Minority Leader and fellow Democrat Chuck Schumer, who told him there was no momentum in the U.S. Congress for direct aid to states whose economies were suffering from the stay-at-home orders aimed at curbing the spread of the virus. More than 22 million Americans have filed for unemployment benefits in the past month as closures of businesses and schools and severe travel restrictions have hammered the economy. But an influential research model released late Friday last week said that the strict adherence to the orders imposed in 42 of the 50 U.S. states was a key factor behind an improved outlook for the country's coronavirus death toll. The University of Washington's predictive model, regularly updated and often cited by state public health authorities and White House officials, projected the virus would take 60,308 U.S. lives by August 4th, down 12% from a forecast earlier in the week. The model predicted some states may be able to begin safely easing restrictions as early as May 4th. Now to the UK. The UK government is now considering lifting the lockdown enacted almost 4 weeks ago to control the coronavirus outbreak, given deeply worrying increases in the death toll, a senior minister said today. Britain is at or near the peak of a health crisis in which more than 15,000 people have died, the fifth highest national death toll of a pandemic linked to at least 150,000 deaths worldwide. Cabinet Office Minister Michael Gove said a BuzzFeed report that the government was considering lifting the lockdown in phases over the coming months was not correct. The facts and the advice are clear at the moment that we should not be thinking of lifting of these restrictions yet, Gove told Sky News. The latest data showed 15,464 people have died in British hospitals after testing positive for the novel coronavirus, a total that has increased by more than 800 for 3 days running. A further 2,500 had died in care homes during this week to April 13th, according to the National Care Forum, a representative body for the adult social care sector. One of the things that is deeply worrying and concerning is the high level of deaths, Gove said. The evidence suggests that the rate of infection and the death rate is flattening, but we are not absolutely certain that we are yet on a downward trajectory, Gove described as grotesque, a Sunday Times story that said Prime Minister Boris Johnson had skipped 5 crisis meetings to address the coronavirus pandemic early in the outbreak. According to him, the Prime Minister took all major decisions. Nobody can say that the Prime Minister wasn't throwing heart and soul into fighting this virus, he added. South Korea extended its social distancing policy for another 16 days today, but offered some relief for churches and sporting fixtures as it reported just 8 new coronavirus infections, the lowest in 2 months. It is safest to maintain the intensive social distancing, but it isn't easy realistically. We need to find a middle ground, Prime Minister Chung Si-kyun told a televised meeting of government officials. If we can maintain a stable management at the current level, we will shift to routine social distancing from May 6th, Chung said. Health authorities have said this would allow a reopening of the economy while maintaining guidelines on disinfection and preventing the spread of the virus in people's daily lives. South Korea in March issued an administrative order that strongly recommended religious, indoor sports and entertainment facilities such as nightclubs suspend operations. The language has now been softened, allowing facilities to restart operation as long as they comply with disinfection guidelines. The government will evaluate the degree of risk every 2 weeks and readjust the level of social distancing when necessary, Health Minister Park Neung-hoo told reporters. The latest figure on new infections was the first time since February 18 that South Korea reported a single-digit daily rise. The increase takes its total case to 10,661. Now to Europe. Europe will need at least another 500 billion euros from European Union institutions to finance its economic recovery after the coronavirus pandemic, on top of the agreed €500 billion package, the head of the Eurozone bailout fund said. In an interview with Italy's Corriere della Sera paper published on Sunday, European Stability Mechanism Managing Director Klaus Regling said the easiest way to organize such funds would be via the European Commission and the EU budget. I could say that for the second phase, we need at least another 500 billion euros from the European institutions, but it could be more, Regling told the paper. For that, we need to discuss new instruments with an open mind, but also use the existing institutions because it is easier, including in particular the Commission and the EU budget. Rethinking European funds can go a long way in keeping the European Union together, Regling said. European Union finance ministers agreed on April 9th on safety nets for sovereigns, companies and individuals worth in total 540 billion euros. They also agreed that the Eurozone, which the IMF predicts will plunge into a 7.5% recession this year because of the pandemic, would need money to recover, but they had different ideas on how much is needed and how to raise it. EU leaders are to discuss that at a video conference on April 23rd. The idea around this is a compromise which will emerge likely to involve the European Commission borrowing on the market against the security of the long-term EU budget and leveraging the money to achieve a bigger effort. Now to key events to watch in the week. The National Bureau of Statistics will release data for the Nigerian Consumer Price Index for the month of March this week. Recall that headline inflation rose by 7 basis points to 12.20% for the month of February 2020. Food inflation, which continues to be the main driver of the hike, rose to 14.90%, a 0.05% rise from the preceding month of 14.85%, while core inflation rose to 9.43% from 9.35% recorded in January 2020. The percentage change in the average composite CPI for the 12-month period ending February 2020 was 11.54%, showing 0.08% point from 11.46% recorded in January 2020. The Debt Management Office will hold a primary market auction on the 22nd of April, wherein 60 billion naira across the three instruments will be offered to investors through reopenings. 12.75% April 2023, 12.5% for March 2035, and 12.98% for April 2050 bonds. The expectation is that this market activity will increase demand at the Treasury bond secondary market this week as investors bargain hunt given the reduced supply at the bond auction. And that will be all for the brief and economics discourse. You can visit our website www.proshareng.com to get more updates from our news stories and videos. You can also follow our social media platforms showing on the screen for further updates on our market reports. ProShare, Nigeria's leading financial information hub, has a special package for you, which is the Corona Watch Central. In this platform, we provide you with data and analysis on impact of COVID-19 on the Nigerian and global economy. Log on to proshareng.com/COVID-19 to get further updates on the platform. Till we come your way again, thank you for watching, stay safe, and have a nice day.